Top stories for today, July 7, 2020. The Philippines lifts the suspension of non-essential travel by Filipinos amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The MRT-3 shuts down operations as all workers test for COVID-19 infection. Authorities place a village and a sitio in Pampanga under total lockdown after 15 residents are infected with COVID-19. And the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao asks to have representation in the Anti-Terror Council. Good day, I'm Rom Dulfo. Welcome to PNA Newsroom. Our top story, the government's COVID-19 task force has lifted the restrictions on non-essential travel amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The task force also set conditions on the non-essential outbound travel of Filipinos. These include the submission of confirmed round-trip tickets for those traveling on tourist visas and adequate travel health insurance to cover rebooking and accommodation expenses. The country of destination should also have no entry ban for Filipinos. Traveler must execute a declaration acknowledging the risks in traveling. Returning Filipinos must follow the COVID-19 guidelines such as the mandatory RT-PCR testing and quarantine. The MRT-3 has temporarily suspended its operations following the increasing number of its personnel who tested positive for COVID-19. This after the number of infected personnel rose to 186 as of Sunday afternoon. The shutdown is set until July 11 and can be shortened or extended depending on the pace and results of RT-PCR testing. The testing for its personnel will be done by the Philippine Coast Guard at the Palacio de Manila Swabbing Center with assistance from the Philippine Red Cross. During the temporary shutdown, all MRT-3 facilities will be disinfected, including its depot, stations, and trains. Meanwhile, international flights resume at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport or NAIA Terminal 3, subject to existing travel restrictions. After temporarily closing in March, NAIA Terminal 3 opens its gates today to resume international flight operations beginning 12:01 a.m. Among the flights are all Nippon Airways, AirAsia Berhad, Cathay Pacific, Emirates, KLM Royal Dutch Airlines, Qatar Airways, Singapore Airlines, and Turkish Airlines. Other international flights are still suspended. Among these airline carriers are Cebu Pacific, Delta Air, Qantas Airways, and United Airlines. Airlines assigned in NAIA Terminal 1 shall remain in Terminal 1. Some foreign carriers operating in Manila also service repatriation flights. NAIA Terminal 2 continues to service international arrival flights of Philippine Airlines, while NAIA Terminal 4 shall remain closed until further notice. On current domestic operations, Cebu Pacific, Cebgo, Philippines AirAsia, and AirSwift flights operate to and from NAIA Terminal 3, while Philippine Airlines and PAL Express operate to and from NAIA Terminal 2. These airlines also operate sweeper flights. The Manila International Airport Authority, or MIA, advises the public to constantly check airline websites for announcements. The lower house is all set to boost the testing and tracing capacity of the country against the dreaded COVID-19 disease. It pushes for additional funding to prepare the hospitals for the surge capacity in response to the pandemic. Following a record-high single-day increase of 2,434 new confirmed COVID-19 cases on July 5, House Ways and Means Committee Chair and Albay 2nd District Representative Joey Salceda says the House is prepared to authorize the allotment to boost the testing capacity of the country. Based on daily testing rates, he said the Philippines falls within the 10% positive rate that Harvard public health experts identified as the ceiling to determine whether a country is doing enough tests. He said he is already in talks with Testing, Tracing, and Treatment Chief Secretary Vince Dizon for the opening of mass testing sites soon. Salceda suggested that mass testing be implemented in areas of strategic economic importance such as the National Capital Region or NCR, Calabarzon, Central Luzon, Metro Cebu, and Metro Davao. He also emphasized that preparing hospitals and treatment centers for COVID-19 surges will be key to maintaining consumer and business confidence, and that the DOH should come up with a plan on how to allocate the resources amid the rise on COVID-19 cases. 3 key officials in Manila City tested positive for COVID-19. More on this from Benj Bondo.
Manila Mayor Isko Moreno on Monday revealed that 3 ranking officials of the city tested positive for the coronavirus disease 2019. During the regular flag-raising ceremony, Dumagoso said it is one of the saddest moments of the city government as it proves that nobody is excused from this deadly virus. Fortunately, he and Vice Mayor Hani Lacuna Pangan turned out negative based on swab test results. The city government immediately conducted contact tracing of those who had an encounter with the 3 officials, and all department heads were required to undergo rapid testing. The identities of the 3 officials were not disclosed, but a statement from the Manila Public Information Office said that 2 of them are department heads and the other is a councilor. Meanwhile, the number of police officers infected with COVID-19 has risen to 905. The Philippine National Police reported that of the total number of positive cases, 418 have already recovered from the disease, while the number of deaths remain at 9. It also recorded a total of 684 probable cases and 1,238 suspected cases. The National Capital Region Police Office and the Central Visayas Police were the offices which recorded the highest number of COVID-19 cases. And good news for those who have relatives abroad, the Department of Foreign Affairs says there are no new cases of the COVID-19 reported as the number remains at 8,679. The DFA also reported no new fatality among Filipinos abroad, with the total number of deaths still at 577. The total number of recovered cases remains at 5,201, while 2,901 are still undergoing treatment. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondok.
President Duterte could either physically deliver his 5th State of the Nation address or SONA at the usual venue or do it virtually. Malacanang says these were the only 2 options amid the prevailing health crisis. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says should Duterte opt to physically show up at the session hall of the House of Representatives, only 50% of the membership of both the Senate and the House would be allowed to attend. And if President Duterte prefers to deliver his SONA via live telecast, members of both the House and Senate will still have to show up at a 50% capacity.
Or po pwedeng live telecast na lang siya pero reduced capacity rin, no? Dahil even under MGCQ, it will have to be 50% of capacity of Congress.
Last month, Roque floated the possibility of having a blended style SONA, referring to a combination of having guests physically present while others opting to watch from their television sets or online. Senate President Tito Soto said there was a suggestion for President Duterte to deliver his next SONA at Malacanang Palace. House Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano says the SONA would likely be conducted via teleconferencing, which has been the method used by Congress to hold sessions and committee hearings. Meanwhile, the PCOO, through its Office of the Global Media and Public Affairs, will hold the first pre-SONA virtual presser on Wednesday, July 8. The first leg will highlight the economic development and infrastructure cabinet clusters and will center on the Philippines' recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. The PCOO started the pre-SONA forum in 2018. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar says through the virtual pressers, cabinet secretaries and key government officials are able to share their programs and accomplishments, especially as we bounce back from the difficulties brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. Ranking police and military officials met on Monday to revisit the operational protocols to prevent a repeat of the shooting incident that killed 4 soldiers in Jolo, Sulu. President Duterte earlier directed the NBI to speed up the investigation into the shooting incident on June 29. In a press briefing in Camp Crame, PNP Chief General Archie Gamboa said Major General Franco Nemesio Gacal and PNP Internal Affairs Service Inspector General Alfigar Triambulo will thresh out organizational matters in the creation of the Board of Inquiry. He said the primary goal of the board is to determine operational lapses and how to improve the operational procedures of the AFP and PNP, as has been agreed with AFP Chief of Staff General Filimon Santos Jr. Gamboa clarified that the Board of Inquiry would not look at the criminal and administrative aspect of the Sulu incident, as it was now in the hands of the NBI. President Duterte acknowledged that the incident has created animosity between the AFP and PNP. He told the military not to hold a grudge against the police, as there is a more important task to do, and that is to protect the people of the Philippines. President Duterte told both the military and the police to wait for the result of the investigation being conducted by the NBI, which will be made public so that everybody will understand the situation. PNP Chief General Archie Gamboa ordered the Internal Affairs Service to dismiss the two cops tagged in the killing of a 15-year-old girl in Ilocos Sur. Gamboa says investigators found good number of evidences that would substantially prove that the two PNP personnel were indeed involved in the crime. Murder charges were filed against Police Staff Sergeants Randy Ramos and Marawi Torda, both assigned at the San Juan Municipal Police Station, as well as acts of lasciviousness and rape. According to reports, Torda sexually assaulted the 15-year-old girl, while Ramos allegedly raped the 18-year-old girl, prompting the 15-year-old victim to file a molestation complaint against the two cops. The 15-year-old girl was shot dead on her way home from the police station, where she filed the complaint against the two policemen. Bulacan Representative Jose Antonio C. Alvarado appeals to netizens to refrain from direct or personal attacks against House members involved in the ABS-CBN franchise renewal hearings. He made this plea after he noticed that his colleagues were being bashed online. Alvarado said his appeal is for those supporting the ABS-CBN's franchise renewal application and those who are blocking it. He notes how Nueva Ecija 2nd District Representative Micaela Violago and Cavite Representative Jesus Crispin Boying Remulla have been victimized recently by online bashers for their actions during the hearings. Violago is the author of a franchise renewal bill, while Remulla has been trying to expose alleged constitutional violations of ABS-CBN. Alvarado said Violago became the subject of a video ridiculing her for supposedly being unprepared in her interpellation on the subject of ABS-CBN's alleged labor law violations. Remulla, meanwhile, was assailed when he was caught on video writing notes during the playing of the national anthem. Remulla has since apologized but claimed that it was ABS-CBN's people who have been playing it up on social media. Still to come, Malacanang reiterates that only terrorists and not critics should beware of the anti-terror law. Authorities place a village and sitio in Pampanga under a total lockdown after 15 residents are infected with COVID-19. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Kakagaling ko lang ng grocery. Siyempre, hindi ko hahayaan na pumasok ang COVID-19 sa bahay at mapahamak ang pamilya ko. Kaya iiwan ko ang sapatos ko sa labas. At ngayon, maghuhugas ako ng kamay ng 20 seconds. O ayan, wala na ang virus. Tandaan, buhay ng pamilya natin na nakasalalay. Let's heal as one.
Alam niyo ba na pumapasok ang COVID-19 sa ating katawan sa pamamagitan ng mata, ilong at bibig? Kaya lagi kaming conscious dito sa bahay kapag umuubo kami. Lagi kami naghuhugas ng kamay in 20 seconds. Pag lumalabas kami, lagi namin suot ang mask. Lagi lang natin tatandaan mga mamshi. Buhay ng pamilya natin ang nakasalalay dito. Let's heal us.
Malacanang has allayed fears over the newly signed anti-terror law, saying only terrorists and not dissenters should beware, since criticizing the government is not a crime. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said there had to be clear and present danger before a person can be arrested and detained for inciting terrorism. He said left-leaning organizations can only be classified as terrorists if there is enough evidence to prove that they are members of terrorist groups.
Siguro, I will phrase it differently. Terrorists, beware of the anti-terror law. Pero yung mga hindi naman po mga terorista, wag po kayo mag-alala. Sapat-sapat po ang mga safeguards sa batas mismo at sa ating umiiral na rules of court para pangalagaan po ang kalayaan ng ang karapatan ng kalayaan at karapatang mabuhay. Kapag sinabi po ng leader ng Abu Sayyaf, pugutan ng ulo ang mga Kristiyano, yan po'y ehemplo ng exciting to terrorism.
According to Roque, if the threats were made by an individual with no involvement with any terrorist group, there would be no clear and present danger to deter. He cited as an example the incident involving a 25-year-old public school teacher who offered a 50 million pesos bounty for anyone who would kill President Duterte.
Na-dismiss po kasi wala pong clear and present danger dahil depende rin po yung sa kakayahan na nagsasalita na mapatupad yung kanyang mga sinasabi. Sapat-sapat po ang remedyo, nandyan na po yan, bagamat may bagong batas, lahat po yung mga writs na ginawa po ng ating Korte Suprema at nasa ating saligang batas, patuloy pa rin po magagamit.
Roque belied anew the statement made by Vice President Leni Robredo that the anti-terror law does not have enough safeguards to prevent abuses. Contrary to the perception of critics, government officials say the Anti-Terror Council cannot order the arrest of persons suspected of terrorism. National Security Advisor Jimenez Esperon Jr. clarified that the ATC is not a judicial body or a quasi-judicial body. He said it can only order the arrest after prescriptions before the courts or after designations by the Anti-Money Laundering Council towards organizations proven to support terrorist acts. He said the ATC could only designate terror groups or individuals by complying with the resolutions of the United Nations Office of Counterterrorism. Esperon also said there are safeguards to prevent the ATC from being politicized. He also reiterated that activism is not labeled as terrorism. Meanwhile, Task Force Bangon Marawi's Chair Secretary Eduardo Del Rosario expressed further support for the anti-terror law, saying it provides the necessary power for the government to crush terrorism. He said addressing terrorism issues will likely provide opportunities to the people to embrace the culture of peace and development, especially in the rural areas. Del Rosario attributed the signing as a victory for peace-loving Filipinos and a huge setback for terrorists. The Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao turned over about 15 million pesos in cash assistance to officials of the Amay Pakpak Medical Center in Marawi City, Lanao del Sur. The cash aid will be used to boost the operations of the APMC's Biomolecular Laboratory as an added COVID-19 testing center. Aside from its biomolecular laboratory, the APMC also has a testing laboratory accredited by the Department of Health as a COVID-19 testing facility. Also on Monday, BARMM Chief Minister Ahod Ibrahim and APMC Chief Dr. Shalimar Sani Rakin signed a memorandum of agreement for collaboration and cooperation in battling COVID-19. Sani Rakin described the BARMM financial aid as a great help to APMC in the development of its biomolecular laboratory to contain the spread of the virus in Lanao del Sur. Authorities have placed on lockdown a village and a sitio in Pampanga after 15 residents went down with COVID-19. Meanwhile, it's closing time for drinkers in Talavera, Nueva Ecija after the local government reimposed its liquor ban. More on these and other news from the provinces from William Theo.
A village and a sitio in Apalit, Pampanga were locked down on Sunday after 15 residents got infected with COVID-19. Barangay Kapalangan and Sitio Pulong Kawayan in Barangay Sulipan were placed under strict quarantine measures until July 16. Mayor Jun Tetanco, along with Governor Dennis Pineda, said the 50 new cases were discovered through contact tracing of the 5 cases who were infected by a 69-year-old female patient and resident. Tetanco said a mobile talipapa and a stockpile of medicines, among others, have been prepared along with continuous contact tracing and strict implementation of home quarantine protocols. In Negros Occidental, 2 emergency responders deployed as frontliners have been quarantined after they were found infected by COVID-19. The 2 patients include a 47-year-old ambulance driver and a 26-year-old first responder of the Pontevedra Municipal Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office. The Provincial Disaster Management Program Division has temporarily suspended the operation of their unit. The ambulance driver's place of residence in Purok New Site, Barangay Minoyan, Murcia Town has also been placed under quarantine. Meanwhile, the municipal government of Talavera in Nueva Ecija reimposed the liquor ban on Monday, July 6, after 2 confirmed COVID-19 cases were reported in the town. The 2 cases were reported following the death of a 63-year-old patient on July 2. The recent COVID-19 cases in the municipality were blamed on gathering and drinking of liquor and alcohol. Nueva Ecija is one of the provinces in Central Luzon placed under MGCQ from July 1 to 15. The province has 81 total cases, including 12 which are active. For the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo.
In our business news, the rate of increase in consumer prices quickened to 2.5% last month from 2.1% in May, according to the PSA on Tuesday. The June rate was slower compared with 2.7% in the same month last year. It also put an end to 4 months of slowing down. The headline inflation in June brought the country's first semester average to 2.47%, still well within the Duterte administration's target range of 2% to 4%. Transportation costs triggered the higher inflation in June amid the easing of lockdown restrictions. Economists of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas earlier projected that higher prices of rice and fuel may have pushed costs up. The BSP had forecasted inflation in June to be around 1.9% to 2.7%. Finance Chief Carlos Dominguez III said the pandemic will not hamper the government's fuel marking program. Finance data showed that as of July 2, the government was able to mark about 9.3 billion liters of fuel since the program started in September 2019. The top 3 companies that have registered the largest supply that have been marked are Petron Corporation at 2.25 billion liters, Shell Corporation 1.9 billion liters, and Unioil 1.03 billion liters. Petron's supply that has been marked accounted for 24% of the total, while share of Shell and Unioil is at 20% and 11% respectively. The fuel marking program intends to address oil smuggling in the country. This program is a requirement under the Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion or TRAIN law. To date, there are 20 fuel sales companies that have participated in the program. Up next, the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao asks to have representation in the Anti-Terror Council. 2 PBA players gave penalties for playing pickup basketball while under general community quarantine. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Tandaan ang tamang paraan ng paghuhugas at paglilinis ng kamay upang makaiwas sa iba't ibang karamdaman. Basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Unang sabunin ang mga palad at ang likod ng mga kamay. Kuskusin na maigi ang pagitan ng mga daliri at maging ang mga kuko. Isunod ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki at kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. Banlawang mabuti ang mga kamay sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Mga mommies, pagdating sa COVID-19, dapat hindi tayo kampante. Bagamat hindi nakikita ang sakit na ito ay nakamamatay. At hanggang ngayon wala pa rin lunas. Kaya protektahan natin ang ating pamilya. Laging maghugas ng kamay, huwag hahawakan ng mukha, at manatili sa bahay para makaiwas sa sakit na ito. Tandaan, buhay ng pamilya natin ang nakasalalay dito. Let's hear this one.
Hi, Caps! Kamusta?
Well, ito dahil sa COVID-19, medyo stress.
Okay lang yan, Caps. Napagdaanan ko din yan.
Ano kaya pwede natin gawin, no?
Kung nararamdaman mo na gulong-gulo ka na sa mga naririnig mo, sa mga nababasa mo, mag-pause ka muna, saka ka huminga ng malalim.
Buti na lang tumawag ka. Iba talaga pag may nangangamusta.
A strong body starts with a strong mind.
Tama. Let's heal us one.
The Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARMM, is seeking for a representation in the Anti-Terror Council as it expressed full support to the newly enacted Anti-Terrorism Law of 2020. In a statement, BARMM Chief Minister Ahod Murad Ibrahim said there is no single way of addressing the threats of terrorism. He said BARMM is set to engaging the national government on preparedness against the vicious phenomenon. Ibrahim said the Bangsamoro government recognizes the need for a strong policy direction on the fight against terrorism. He said they trust the president will ensure that the concerns and apprehensions of the Bangsamoro people on some provisions of the law will not happen. He also said they will commit to continue the conversation within the Bangsamoro to provide the national government realistic context from the ground. The Department of Science and Technology, or DOST, Grant in Aid Program has provided 1.4 million financial aid to a conflict-vulnerable community in Zamboanga, Sibugay. DOST 9 Director Martin Wee on Monday identified the beneficiary as the Balagon Alsamasa Service Provider Association of Barangay Balagon, CI, Zamboanga, Sibugay. We said the funding will be used to get rice and corn mill equipment as well as technologies for milling operations to support a science and technology-based livelihood within the community. The financial grant is in line with Executive Order 70 and the efforts of the Regional Task Force to end local communist armed conflict. As the government deals with the communist armed conflict, the Army urges combatants of the New People's Army, or NPA, to surrender for the sake of their children's health and safety. Marita Muahe with more.
Instead of wasting their time on a false ideology, New People's Army combatants who have families should surrender and attend to the needs of their children. Lieutenant Colonel Julius Cesar Paulo, commander of the Army's 23rd Infantry Battalion, said malnutrition is common among children who are abandoned by parents who chose to fight for the NPA. He said the NPA's disregard of their members' families reflects the continued injustice the rebel movement has inflicted on hundreds of families in the countryside. Paulo assured the Army unit will continue to ensure that children of former NPA rebels are protected from malnutrition and the threats of COVID-19. 23rd Infantry Battalion led a feeding program on Sunday, July 5 at their headquarters in Barangay Alubihid, Buena Vista, Agusan del Norte. Meanwhile, a member of the NPA who died in an encounter with government troops on June 29 was found to have joined the movement when he was still a minor. The rebel was identified as Malvin Christian Cruz of Barangay San Nicolas, Oton, Iloilo, who was recruited when he was 17 years old. He was killed at Sitio Lai, Barangay Dalihe, Miagao, as soldiers responded to reports that NPA terrorists were recruiting minors in San Joaquin and the said town. The Army's 61st Infantry Battalion said the recovery of the rebels' body proves that the Communist Party of the Philippines, NPA, continue to recruit minors and youth from target universities. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muaje.
The Provincial Chief of the Department of Health in Negros Oriental calls on the public to put in place measures against dengue with the onset of the rainy season. Dr. Socrates Villamor said the start of the rainy season in June also means the expected start of the peak in the number of dengue cases. Villamor said the fight against dengue might be relegated to the sidelines because authorities are currently more focused on containing COVID-19. He said it is now time to undertake preventive measures to ensure that surroundings are clean and safe to prevent the spread of dengue. He reiterated the government's 4S strategy in dengue prevention, namely search and destroy mosquito breeding grounds, self-protection measures such as using an insect repellent lotion, seeking early consultation when experiencing symptoms, and supporting fogging and spraying only in hotspot areas with increased cases. In our foreign news, the Olympic Games Organizing Committee is looking to work closely with newly elected Tokyo Governor Yuriko Koike in hosting the delayed Games. 67-year-old Koike, the first female governor of the Japanese capital, won a second term in the Tokyo gubernatorial election on Sunday after beating 21 challengers. Koike vowed to seriously deal with the second wave of COVID-19 and coordinate with the International Olympic Committee over the postponed Olympics and Paralympics in 2021. Tokyo 2020 President Yoshiro Mori said that Tokyo is aiming for a simplified Olympic Games befitting a new era after going through these challenging times. IOC President Thomas Bach also congratulated Koike earlier, saying they hope to make the postponed Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 a symbol of hope and resilience for all humankind. In sports, PBA players Japet Aguilar and Adrian Wong were penalized on Monday after they were shown in social media while playing pick-up basketball despite the General Community Quarantine or GCQ in Metro Manila. The decision was part of the sanctions Philippine Basketball Association Commissioner Willie Marshall slapped on the Ginebra star and Rain or Shine rookie. Marshall also handed a 20,000 peso fine each for both players, as well as an order for them to undergo testing, self-quarantine, and 30 hours of community service. Also seen in the social media posts were Terra Firma rookie Isaac Go and B-League Asian import Thirdy Ravena. Contact sports like basketball remain prohibited during GCQ, although the Interagency Task Force already allowed the PBA to do light practices again. Displaced residents of Marawi City are finding ways to make a living amid the COVID-19 pandemic. By availing of livelihood packages from the government, some are taking advantage of the health crisis to earn money while helping others. Christine Lynn Viajante has a story.
In the COVID-19 crisis that the country is facing now, one of the most vulnerable sectors of the society are Marawi City's internally displaced families that are still relying on the government's aid. However, Bidaya is different. She is an IDPO stats that sees a silver lining from the pandemic through sewing DIY face masks. She can make up to 100 pieces of these a day and profits from 4,000 to 6,000 pesos a month.
Hindi po ako nawala ng pag-asa. Hindi po ako sumusuko. Lahat ba ng mga negosyo na pwede kong gawin ngayon ay susubukan ko para makaahon lang kami. Hindi ko iniisip yung pagod, puyat, at saka gaano kabigat yung gagawin ko para sa negosyo ko, alang-alang po sa kinabukasan ng mga anak ko.
Bedaya is one of the Department of Labor and Employment's beneficiaries who received a Sewing Livelihood Starter Kit. Before, Bedaya would just make bed sheets, curtains, and hijabs. Thanks to the trainings that was conducted by non-government organizations, it helped her improve her dressmaking skills.
Sa mga kapwa kong IDPs, huwag po tayong magbityo. Huwag po tayong susuko. Tanggapin natin ang nangyari na to sa atin. Ito ang nakatadhana. Magsama-sama po tayo para bumangon. Kasi po, nakasulat na yan sa Quran. Sabi ni Allah, hindi ko kayo babaguhin kung hindi kayo magbabagong buhay.
Bedaya currently lives in a backwit village in Matanggao, Lanao del Norte. She is just one of the many people who were affected by the Marawi siege before, yet whatever challenge she may face, she doesn't know how to give up.
Panaguntamang ka ang katagumpya.
For PNA Newsroom, Christine Linviajante of PIA Ligan City Information Center.
Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. The Philippines lifts the suspension of non-essential travel by Filipinos amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The MRT-3 shuts down operations as all workers test for COVID-19 infection. Authorities place a village and a sitio in Pampanga under total lockdown after 15 residents are infected with COVID-19. And the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao asks to have representation in the Anti-Terror Council. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, check our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more news about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags on all our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's a daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from PNA Newsroom. I am Rom Dulfo. Good day and keep safe.